Okay, let's move to the next slide, right? Very quickly. Quality of products. So you got a few comments here, mostly complaining about affordability and value. Okay, I think let's talk to Mr. Akbar, since you're the marketing man who I'm sure talks to a lot of customers. Why do you think statements like this come out?
Quality should always be affordable. Well, I think any manufacturers would like to sell a car with a quality product. I mean, nobody want to sell the car without, because car carries human. You can't be simply selling cars without any proper quality, because you carry human. You carry nyawa basically. So as for our side, for example, in Honda, we do have IQS, initial quality survey, that for the past few years, I think city model, for example, the mass model, we've been achieving a number one in terms of the achievement. So in terms of quality, the way I look at it, yes, of course, it's a must. It's a must. It's not like there's no what do you call that option whether or not I can get low quality or good quality cars. Any manufacturers for products, especially for cars, actually, it's a must item the way I look at it.
But for some reason, this might be an issue about, I'm not sure, a bigger grounds about local brand, right? I just want to ask from the manufacturer side, is there a difference between perceived quality versus true quality? Is there really a big gap between, local brands and?
Well, I think if I were to add a little bit more, like what Dato' Aisha mentioned just now, that currently our Honda, the cars in Malaysia are being, there are regulations and whatnot has been introduced by the government that we need to adhere to all this. For example, any UNECE regulation and whatnot. So these are actually will determine the quality of the car itself. So, for example, like the frontal collision, side impact collision and whatnot, we need to have certain specification in order to adhere to that quality standards.
Yeah, can I add on to that? I think we need to really differentiate between quality and the quality standards as well as safety standards. Safety standards is a must. There's no compromise. Especially Malaysia is a WP29 country, a signatory. So we adhere to the UNECE regulation. And by the way, in the year 2015, Malaysia will be a full-fledged, will be practicing the full vehicle type approval, meaning we have to follow exactly the 100 over UNECE regulation, which are all safety-related standards. Okay. Now, apart from this one, the other aspect of quality, for example, okay, just to give you a notion, paint. Orange peel, a paint. Some people don't like orange peel. Orange peel is basically an orange. That you see some kind of peeling on the surface. But there are some quarters that perceive orange peel as luxurious. So what does it mean here? It means here actually, and by definition, you can search this in Oxford, quality means what is the perception of that community or that region with regard to that quality of a product. Okay. Now, this is where we need to properly define that definition of quality in that particular area, in that particular region. Now, that is why don't talk about safety. I'm talking about quality. A gap, for example, a clearance between your bonnet and your bumper. There's the gap, right? In other countries, that gap can be 2 millimeters. In other, in certain region, that can be of different clearance. So that again is a perception, is a perceived value of people who buys car in that particular region. So really, what I'm saying is, yes, it should be affordable, because it should be affordable to the perceived value of the buyers in that particular area, country, region, or whatever,
And I think we all agree that the higher the price is, the higher the expectation is as well. So it's not just a regional and cultural issue, it's also something to do. If you pay more for it, you have an expectation that actually also can live up to that standard.
I just want to add, let's look at it from a bigger perspective. When you talk about quality or from a customer, all of us are customers. It's not just you're paying not just for the product, but it's also the after sales service and the rest. If you have a so-called good quality product, but the after sales service is no good, customers will still complain. So at the end of the day, I think it's the whole package. Of course, there are many ways to measure The manufacturers have their own way of measuring. You've got this DPU, PPM, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's how the customers measure us. And this is, Cik Akbar mentioned about one way is the JD Power IQS, and I'm sure many of us have our own internal survey, a number of complaints that we receive, that kind of things that we track. In our case, in the context of us, we have what we call this M3, M12. What is M3, what is M12? After the car has been delivered, 3 months after it's being delivered, what's the claim like, in terms of warranty? After 12 months. I mean, these are some of the measurements that can be measured. But as I've said, I just want to reiterate again, it's not just from the manufacturer, putting it across to the customer, but at the same time is how the customers, look at how, we take care of them, including the after sales service.
I think your brand management.
Yeah, but I think to me, from what I can see, I mean, local cars now, I mean, the quality is better than before. I mean, Rodua, for example, everybody knows that the quality is on par with the other brands to non-local brands. But the problem with this is actually the public perception towards local brands. So this is where we say it's the perceived quality. To them, local cars are no good. Imported brands are better, even though the cars are also assembled in Malaysia, even though they are using the same vendors. So, I mean, if you go down and ask them, what do you mean there's no quality? They will struggle to explain to you. So, this is the perception, the brand perception. This is something not, I mean, you can have the best of cars in the world, but you cannot change the perception in one day.
I have to thank Hazri lah. It's very difficult for me to blow my own trumpet lah. But suffice to say that, over the years, I mean, we are 20 years old. I mean, the national brands are relatively younger. Of course, in the early days, we went through a lot of challenges. But by and large, at the end of the day, in order for us to continue to compete, I want to use the word to compete, we have no choice. We have to build the products at par or even better than the non-national brands. And again, I was talking about the complete experience, the after sales service and the rest.
Right. I'm